English translation, 449th contact, Friday, 11th May, 2007, 22:53 hours.
Greetings to you, Ptah. You managed it well again, because some time ago, Eva went over to check on Selena and went to bed. I am surprised that you are already back today, because you said that we would do our correction work tomorrow Saturday.
That is true, but be greeted, Edward. As a result of certain work that I have to do, I also already come today, and this is because tomorrow I have to be present elsewhere after the correction work. That could happen more often in the future.
That is fine with me, of course, and I am happy to follow your lead. What about Njana? Does she want to have her portrait drawn or not?
She has still not decided.
What a pity, but at least Florina agreed and had a portrait drawing of herself done by you. It would be nice if you would have your picture taken.
Which we do not agree with, as you know.
I know, unfortunately.
Then I have to come to something that unfortunately is unavoidable, and that is in relation to C, which we have already talked about several times. Her state of health has become extremely precarious in various forms, and the whole affliction is summarized in the so-called fibromyalgia syndrome. FMS, as the disease is called in earthly medicine, is a chronic soft tissue complaint in the form of a conditional but not inflammatory pain syndrome. From this disease, which usually occurs between 20 and 50 years of age and often disappears or at least improves at a higher age, chronic muscle pain results, which increases due to stress and cold as well as excessive physical strain. According to these symptoms, it is therefore a serious rheumatic disease which is incurable in itself, but which, as already mentioned, can improve with age. Connected to the pain syndrome is also a chronic fatigue syndrome, which unfortunately cannot be suppressed, as well as the other symptoms of the disease, such as morning clamminess and stiffness of the whole body, a feeling of swelling in the hands, as well as tension headaches and various other ailments. A lot of warmth and appropriate activity is therefore required, but this should not be exaggerated. Basically, a change in the whole way of life is necessary to alleviate the illness, so that sufficient sleep and non-exhausting exercise as well as the necessary relaxation are taken care of. In principle, the disease cannot yet be cured on Earth by the medical profession, but it can be alleviated somewhat by certain measures. However, with the current state of knowledge of earthly medicine, great success cannot yet be expected. And as I see the whole thing with C, she will have to be treated in a clinic. Her condition is very precarious, as I have taken from the data of the monitoring apparatus, which is why Ketzel and I have now decided that at the next group meeting you should present the facts I have mentioned in order to free C from all duties that cause her physical difficulties until further notice. This includes the duty of the night watch, which causes her difficulties other than those caused by the illness discussed.
Of course, I will act on your and Ketzel's instructions and present the whole matter to the group members at the next General Assembly on June 2nd, assuming that C is dispensed with the night watch and any other duties that cause her difficulties. In this, I also include Engelbert, who, due to his illness, will also be absent from the night watch in the future, as you said.
You will settle the matter in both cases, as is your manner. There is no doubt about it.
I am honored by your good opinion.
It is only the truth.
It is all right. But may I ask you now if you have some predictions?
I do. But before I speak of that, I would like to talk about something else.
Then get started.
There is something else to say, which on the one hand concerns Engelbert's suffering, and on the other hand also various core group members regarding smoking.
In any case, it is not very pleasant. And with regard to Engelbert, we can consider ourselves lucky that the operation will go well.
Unfortunately, the thing about smoking is really not pleasant, considering the health damage that results from it for everyone. However, if a serious effort is made to pull oneself together and stop smoking, then a great deal can be achieved in terms of a general improvement in health in each individual case. What has to be said with regard to Engelbert, I recommend him to take a lot of exercise after the operation, often outdoors, and also to take the initiative to engage in small activities. His health requires him to spend 5 to 6 hours a day in the fresh air and also to do some physical activity. Otherwise, his health will no longer be what it used to be, but will decline more and more. Idleness is unhealthy and demoralizing for him both physically and consciously.
The thing is, the human being's will is his or her kingdom of heaven, even with Engelbert. On the other hand, I already talked about the problem of smoking with the group members concerned years ago, but I will not do that again, because your and my advice was only followed by a few. Besides, it is really a private matter, in which I only interfere if I am asked about it. Besides, if you do not want to hear, you have to feel.
That is a good word. But now let me talk about the predictions. There are some new extraordinary predictions to report. In Afghanistan, the radical Islamic terrorist leader and trainer of suicide bombers, Mullah Dadullah, is killed in a firefight with U.S. troops. Extraordinary things happen sometime later in Indonesia, where extreme currents and high tide cause the sea to rebel such that 7-meter-high waves are created, which hit various islands in Indonesia and destroy various houses, etc., but no human lives are lost.
That is all?
Actually, there is nothing else to report that could be called extraordinary. Maybe I can tell you more when I come back at the end of the month.
And what about the weather conditions in the next few weeks?
There will be moderate storms with flooding over Spain, France, and Germany. But that is not something that can be called exceptional, because everything has changed due to climate change, so that storms, like the ones that will occur in the near future, are normal. If exceptional and therefore very severe storms occur, I will inform you about them. And what I still with to mention, next Saturday Injana will do the proofreading, because I will be busy elsewhere.
Also good, and I am pleased that we can work together with her again.
From the records of the monitoring device, I know that you have written something about some explanations from Nocodemian's memory banks regarding the origin of the non-space.
Yes, I was able to extract some information from the memory banks. Do you want to read it?
Of course, because obviously these are records that are unknown even to us. We cannot use Nocodemian's memory banks.
If you are patient, I will print out the article. But first I have to turn on the computer.
Of course, I wait.
It takes some time, so you can relax. Here is the file. I will print it out for you, please.
Thanks. Can I read it now?
Certainly.
Ptah reads the printout.
Definition of the nothing, respectively, the absolute nothing space.
As a definition of the nothing, respectively, of the absolute non-space, from which the se in absolutum as creation out of nothing, respectively creation out of nothing, creatio ex nihilo, has arisen. It is to be understood that it is about a boundless spatiality of endless duration, in which nothing materially existing, that is to say, the being is non-existent. Hence, absolute non-space. Thus, the terms absolute nothing and absolute non-space mean that in this infinite and timelessness, no materially existing matter respectively, no being is given respectively exists, namely, neither in any visible, audible, nor in any perceptible or otherwise graspable being form. The absolute non-space was formed from a jot of adhering ultra-subatomic state of a compression of endless duration, which was created swinging wave energetically out of itself and in the course of its existence through a swinging wave energetic act of self-fertilization, a bipolar respectively. In the course of its existence, a bipolar, that is to say, negative-positive energy and power, was generated by a swinging wave energetic act of self-fertilization, from which, through a further pure swinging wave energetic compression, a negative-positive seen being energy emerged, which expanded to a limitless, timeless and unstoppable space, to the absolute non-space, which finally resulted in the seeing absolutum, one of the absolutum levels. While the absolute non-space continued to exist in endless duration as a unique birth factor, and continued to exist for all endless duration, and continued to expand inexorably and endlessly. The primordial emergence of the state of infinite duration was founded in an impulse of neutral form, arising out of an absolutum of space, time and permanence, which developed into one jot of negative-positive super-ultra-subatomic energy, which, as a bipolar impulse, further condensed swinging wave energetically as a jot-like ultra-subatomic factor to the neutral state of endless duration, which fertilized itself and developed as bipolar energy of positive and negative, from which a further swinging wave energetic condensation occurred, which developed as negative-positive C-ion energy. The term being refers exclusively to the existence of all gross material, semi-rough material and gaseous matter, and thus also to the material life of any form of life, while the term sein is only correct for the energy of the spirit and the energy of the creation. Therefore, sein has nothing to do with the purely material existence. According to the spiritual teaching of the Nocademian, the two terms to be and sein must be understood in this sense alone. So when the spiritual teaching speaks of a non-being, and thus also of a nothing and an absolute non-space, then this refers solely to the non-existence of the material being respectively, the gross material matter of any kind. Contrary to this, the C-ion, respectively the spiritual energy, that is to say, the energy of creation, which since primeval existence developed in the nothing, that is to say in the absolute nothing space, in the tiniest, say in ultra-ultra-ultra-subatomic form, out of itself in gigantic mass in bipolar, that is to say in negative-positive energy and power, and through which to its characteristic continuing seen-er energy, and continuing seen-er power, out of which the first absolute form, the sein absolutum, developed in a unique wise, and from this, in further succession, the other absolutum forms. 2. Sohar absolutum. 3. Super absolutum. 4. Creation absolutum. 5. Central absolutum. 6. Primal absolutum. 7. Absolute absolutum. All absolutum forms, that is to say, absolutum planes, were created only once by the sein absolutum, that is to say, by the sein creation. All absolutum creations respectively, absolutum universes respectively, absolutum forms respectively, absolutum planes, were created only once by the sein, absolutum respectively by the sein creation, which was created by the permanent sein primal energy and permanent sein primal power. The absolutum forms 1 to 6 do not create any further universes respectively. Creations since their primal beginning respectively, since their primal existence. Of all the 7 absolutum forms, only the absolute absolutum 7 creates other creation forms, namely only the simplest and lowest creation form, respectively the lowest universe form, which has a coarse material universe belt. In this wise, the absolute absolutum is constantly creating new, simple, respectively lower universes, which can range from 1 to 49. These low creation forms evolve up to the primal creation, and then to the central creation, up to the number of 1049 ever more highly evolving creation forms respectively universes, after which merging with the absolute absolutum occurs. The lowest universe respectively, the lowest creation form, is for example our Dern universe, whereby this universe form is the only one that has a material belt in its 7 belts, in which gases, electrons and all 280 elements are formed, from which galaxies, nebulae, suns, black holes, matter clouds, neutrino clouds, etc., as well as planets, moons, comets, meteors, and finally, the smallest and largest life forms develop. And if, in the course of time, the lowest creations, respectively, the lowest universe changes to primal creations, respectively, primal universes, then these impulses, which are called primal idea, create one or more 1 to 49 new lowest universes creations, which develop themselves out of the impulses, respectively, the idea itself. The next form of creation in the expansion through evolution out of the lowest form of creation then does not have a coarse material belt with galaxies and stars, as well as coarse material life forms, because already the next evolutionary stage is only purely spirit energetic form. Simyase Silver Star Center, Wednesday, 4th of April 2007. Error 156 hours, Billy.
These explanations are extremely interesting and very well explanatory, besides the fact that they are very valuable for us and open up perspectives hitherto unknown to us with regard to the original origin of the effective beginning of the becoming of the very first causation, from which the actual non-space and the endless duration were formed, from which in the end the seeing absolutum was born. My deep thanks, my friend, also in the name of our spiritual leadership and our races.
Please, there is no need to thank me. I'm only doing my duty.
There is no point in arguing with you because you will win in the end anyway.
Aha, you can still be lectured, my friend. That is a good thing, though, that we can put the subject behind us. One question? On the 20th of July 2002, you told me that you received the knowledge and formulas regarding the possibility of a penetration into other universes from Asket's friends, respectively from the Sonaern. But another time you also said, which unfortunately is not in a contact report, that the formulas are based on the records of Henoch. How does that come together now?
By different past journeys up to the earliest times of the second Nocodemian, we could clarify the following. The original records, formulas, and plans already led back to the second Nocodemion, who, however, did not complete them. Consequently, only the first Henoch continued to work on them in such a wise that he also succeeded in completing everything. That enabled him to enter the Radern universe and to stay there for a longer time and to work on several worlds. Shortly before his death, this Henoch handed over all his records on this subject to Asket's ancestors, after which they fell into oblivion, because nobody worked on them anymore due to serious human problems that arose and the resulting disinterest. This also led to the loss of important data, and thus the completeness of the data, plans, and formulas were no longer there. But nevertheless, the records, formulas, and plans were passed on from one generation to the next generation for millions of years until they entered the Dal universe, and penultimately came into the custody of Asket's father, Ishwish Kasil, who left them to her. But since Asket, as a space engineer, was interested in the records, etc., and since Ishrish received permission to return to the forgotten technology and also to enlist the help of the Sonaer, she acted accordingly. So she handed over the records, plans and formulas to the highly developed sonair for further or re-elaboration, from where we then received the further and largely re-elaborated data, formulas and plans which were also further and finally elaborated by our scientists, which made the whole process and penetration into the Radern universe possible for us in the first place.
Then it is finally clear. But I have not heard from you for quite some time about your activity in the Radern universe. But what does the name Casil mean?
Awe-inspiring? I know because a friend of mine also goes by that name.
Has there not been anything new in that regard?
So far, there have been some new things concerning the discovery of various life-bearing worlds in various solar systems, and human beings have also been found. These, however, did not yet have any highly developed technology that would enable them to travel through space. Some of them do have a higher technological science, but it is still far from being possible to develop a usable space technology. 6 worlds have been found that may well carry human life, but their status is still equal to that of Stone Age humans. 4 primeval worlds were also found, which carry only primeval mammal and primeval animal life. Highly civilized human beings have not been found yet. But now, Edward, I should get going again, because there is still a lot of work to be done in the next few hours. If you have no more questions?
I have not. See you next time, then. Goodbye, Ptah.
Goodbye, my friend.